This is back for another episode of This Disc is Great with Steve and Nate. We were talking about we actually got to play some disc golf this weekend out at Cunningham.
Yes.
Played a couple of rounds out there. We were both a little rusty. Steve more so because he's played less than me. Oh, I need to mute my phone. Well, that's... Where's the mute?
We should call this the fiasco.
All right. We'll cut all that out when this gets ported over to YouTube. Anyway, we were talking about how we finally got to play a little bit this weekend, but we didn't film any because there were like 40-mile-an-hour winds the whole time. So play was a little rough, and it would have been no good to bother filming. So we'll hopefully be able to get out this weekend. I think we now have all of the technical things working and fancified now, so we should be good to go. All right, we'll get into the disc here in a little bit. We got some people on now, so we'll be able to do that. Let's go ahead and talk about Dismember real quick before we get there. Yeah. We got MVP has shipped us the discs for this next month, and they sent us a picture that we're gonna show you guys here in just a second. Boom. So this is everything that you are getting in the Dismember package. So you're getting plasma traces with that super cool trifoil stamp. If you guys can see that way, that little picture down there is a photo that MVP sent us of the actual stamps. They look awesome. Steve, why don't you grab us one of the Ace of Hearts plasma traces and we can show them what it looks like. But you're getting that plasma trace with that sweet trifoil stamp, and you're getting that streamlined shirt. That's going to be a back print, not a front print. Our picture hasn't been updated to that. It's going to be a back print. And then you're getting a sticker and a wristband of some sort. Evan, let's go ahead and flip us to a bigger picture so they can see those traces. Oh, okay. Get up nice and close, Steve.
Have to change the...
Yeah, you're good. You're fine. They can see.
There we go. Little focus change.
So the plasma is super gorgeous plastic. I have a bunch of those Ace of Hearts ones left, so if you missed out on the plasma traces, I still have those. Check those out. And I've got more plasma traces coming next week. So we're super excited about Dismember. Get signed up. It's $24.99 a month, and you get all that stuff. And we're working on some super cool stuff for the next couple of months working with Dynamic/Latitude. I've got some Discmania stuff coming. We got another end of a month coming up. So get signed up, check that out, and yeah. All right, let's get into the review. Steve, what do we got this week?
All right, this week we got some MVP. This is the Neutron Particle. Nice. It's a putt and approach disc. Speed of 3, glide of 3, turn of 0, and a fade of 2. So decent. As of late, I've seen a lot more putters being 3 speeds than 2 coming out. Like the AVR is a 2 speed, but then MVP's got this 3 speed, and then 3 glide is usually a lot of glide for a putter. So we were excited to throw this because AVR X3s and stuff have come out. It just won't be as overstable. Hopefully get us a little farther, but still have some good stability. So
run those numbers by us again, Steve.
Yeah, it's 2302.
And MVP doesn't give official numbers to their discs, so all of the numbers that we have for MVP are kind of put on there by a third party, and so 2 or 3, it is kind of, we'll see when we get some throws in, it's kind of a tweener. You could call it a 2, you could call it a 3, it's real close on those things, but 2 or 3, 302. Steve, what putters does that make you think of just off the top of your head, numbers wise?
I don't know, it's like kind of like a P2.
Yeah, the P2 is officially 01, but it is a little more stable than an AVR, which is also an 01.
Yeah.
So the P2 is a good example. That's going to put it... Dynamic doesn't make a putter that's that stable.
Other than the Slammer.
That's more stable.
Yeah,
than that,
so this is kind of in the middle.
Yeah, this is probably going to be somewhere close to, why am I blanking on things that are that stable?
The AVR.
AVR 3s are similar.
Yeah.
As far as that goes, this isn't as flat topped, but yeah, it's going to be your slightly overstable putter. It's not going to be as dead straight as a lot of the go-tos. This is actually something MVP doesn't really have. Almost all of their putters have the atom, the ion, the anode have really similar numbers at like 01 or 00.
Yeah.
So this is the most overstable putter we've seen from MVP and all. Did you read the description yet?
Not yet.
Go for it.
All
Read
right.
that description.
MVP says this about the particle. It's 10 millimeters, so that MVP does this cool thing where they describe how much space the actual rim is taking up. So this 10 millimeter putter class gets a tasty upgrade with the new neutron particle. It's debuted as a mystery mold for the majority of electron experimental discs, and then as a neutron players pack in 2017's MVP circuit events. Particle is best described as flying like an overstable Envy, able to handle wind and long straight travel before a guaranteed fade. As with all MVP and Axiom 10 millimeter class discs, the particle has a mildly shallow height that makes it fast in the air and easy to throw cleanly without wobble.
Yeah, it's not super deep,
No, actually,
but it's not super shallow. Like
Yeah.
my pilots are shallower than this is.
I would agree.
But yeah, so I haven't thrown an Envy, but I keep being told that I should because it's the best disc ever from a lot of people. So if this is a slightly more overstable Envy, you MVP guys who like your Envies are probably going to like this guy a lot. All right, let's. Before we go too far, we do give all of these discs away. That we threw these two discs for the review, so we'll give these two away. These are max weight. Not max weight. They're 174, which is the heaviest particles we got. So they're the heaviest particles we had available. We'll give both of these away. I'm also going to give away this ultralight Outlaw. We got a whole bunch of these in. They were all 127 to 128, and so I wanted to take one out, throw it, see what it did.
That was fun.
It's super flippy.
Yeah, that was super
I
fun.
threw it on a monster. Like the one time I threw it hard, I threw it on a super spike hyzer, and it rolled that way. It flipped all the way over. So these are going to be great for small children, your girlfriend that isn't athletic, people who don't throw very hard. So if you need something that's going to go far for somebody who doesn't have a lot of arm speed, this is it. Check it out. So we're going to give away all these things. We've been doing a thing lately where if you guess the farthest distance on our throws, we'll give one away. We're just going to do that for backhand this week. So the farthest backhand, you guess person, distance, and you win. So somebody guessed Nate, 261, backhand. That's the correct guess if I threw 261. So whoever's closest will win the white particle, and then I'll give two of these away just to people that make me laugh, who have good comments, ask good questions. So be commenting on the video, ask us questions, share the video. We really appreciate the shares. That as more people see the video, spreads Disc Store and Disc Golf to more people, so do that. And let's check out and see how this thing throws. All right, so first one isn't Steve. for
Wow,
once.
I feel.
So I try to go when we go out and film. I'll throw it hyzer twice, flat twice, ante twice. So this is the hyzer, 287 on a pretty big wide hyzer. That's pretty good for a putter. I mean, I'm not throwing my putters much farther than 287. But from that, you see it doesn't flip up at all. Holds that hyzer angle the whole way. Gets a little bit of skip. Pretty solid flight. Let's take a look at another one.
And we had to put that
Got
one
the
in
fly
there.
hole.
We had to.
If you guys have watched this at all, you know that Steve, what he likes to do when he films is he'll throw one short to make me have to walk up and mark it, and then he throws the next one at me.
You
It's just kind of how it
gotta
goes.
have some fun.
But yeah, that time if I was the basket, Steve got an ace.
Really liked that I was able to get it to pop up from that hyzer. Really stayed straight for a very long time. So although it does finish, I was really happy that it wouldn't just totally dump over. Like if I threw the trimmer on that, it would have flipped up and probably over. This thing was able to take that 250 kind of distance and be able to take that kind of torque.
And this was one of your first throws, so you were still getting warmed up.
Oh yeah.
So we'll see some better ones from Steve here in a minute. Go ahead.
My patented spike hyzer. I almost get an 8 again, but
Yeah, that one was real close too. At least I was farther away this time.
Yeah.
294 is a pretty good pop with the putter.
dude, I was really surprised just because when I'm throwing if I'm trying to get 300 with my putter, I'm obviously in trouble. But this one is just like, I could trust that I'm not turning this thing over, at least in these calm conditions. I've definitely felt comfortable with this disc, being able to really pump on it and know I'm going to at least get down the fairway, get down out of where I'm at.
Yeah, it definitely has that zero turn. It's not flipping up out of that on us. Even thrown pretty hard, it's still flying pretty. Holding the angle, finishing out. So far the 2 looks accurate. Let's see if we can get some flatter releases and see how it flies that way. Yeah, that's pretty flat. A little bit hyzer. So there, you see it came out flat, held that straight angle for a little bit, and then has that forward penetrating fade as it goes. So for a stable putter, that's kind of the flight I would look for.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not flipping it over. It's not fighting out of that angle. And again, 277 for a putter shot. Again, if I need anything more than that, I'm pulling out a mid or a driver. So 277 is pretty solid distance for a putter. That's some good glide. Happy with that. So let's keep on going here.
So
I think that was a little flatter than he's
I
giving
would
me
agree
credit
with
for.
that, especially since it basically stayed straight the whole way.
You did get a really good pop on it, so it flipped up on you a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit. But 300, almost 300 feet, like, I'm ripping on my EMAC trying to get that far, just making sure I'm not skying it. And this one, I can put on just a little bit high. It's almost like I want to go at least 250, and it doesn't really matter where I'm pointing and shooting this disc. It's going to let me do it. Like, I would use this. I was throwing this thing as like a get out of trouble, at least go this far kind of shot. I would almost say it fixed my mistakes, because this was very early in the year. I really had not been throwing.
This was your first day throwing in like a month and a half.
The fact that I was throwing 300 with this disc, it just is showing me that I might have to get one.
All right, let's check out some more throws here. There, Steve almost got it flat.
There it is.
300.
I did it.
That actually is the farthest throw, so we'll go back and look at the guesses and see what we got as far as who won. Evan might have a winner for me there.
Yes, we do.
So that's not really flipping on you, really. I mean, just from the camera angle, it might make it look that way, but that's pretty much dead straight the whole time.
Oh yeah. So with the camera angles, like, basically you throw a disc here because you know it's going to pop up. So knowing it's going to go this far rather than it just totally taking that, and this one really pans out nicely, where that 2 fade is allowing it to stay in the air instead of just completely turning over, dumping. Kind of like when we were throwing that Firestorm. Once that thing really started to turn, it was really fading out. But 300 with the putter, man. Nate didn't tell me the distances before we started this, so this is an honest surprise. 300 with the putter, dude.
That's a lot
this
of glide.
This is crazy. This thing will go.
All right, let's. I think we got a couple more backhands here.
Oh, that looks 300 potential.
Nope.
Oh.
That one I got it over on an Anheuser angle like we were wanting. And it didn't really fight out of it a lot. It just kind of held it the whole way, and it did sit down flat, which is what I want on turnover shots. Because if you remember last week when we showed some of the turnovers that we had, if it hits the ground on an angle, it's going to hit and roll back. So this panned out enough to land flat, which is good. So it's kind of a shot that I want, but it really didn't like being thrown Annie. It wants to get thrown hyzer or flat. I forced it on the Annie, it held it and sat down, but we didn't really have any great anhyzer shots. Usually when you're flexing a shot like that, you get more distance out of it. Not this guy, it just kind of wanted to sit down. All right, I think I've got So as a putter, this is probably a shot you're going to be using it for a lot, just that standstill, upshot type throw. And I still got 250 out of that just with arm. That's no legs, not a lot of hips. So if you're throwing with less power than me and Steve, which is probably a decent chunk of you guys watching, this is about how it might fly for you if you're throwing it a little softer. So it still went pretty straight, but then that consistent hyzer finish at the end. Yeah, it's what you want out of your approach discs. All right. Sidearms? Oh, nope. Similar kind of thing. Steve not throwing it 100% power. It's probably what, like 60?
Yeah, but it was either a one step or a standstill. Just a little hyzer, pops up, carries out. Dude, I'm definitely gonna bag this. Like, I've thrown a lot of putters trying to find something, but it's like I either am always turning it over or I'm never getting enough on it, and it just hyzers out on me too early. Just the lack of glide.
Yeah.
But then this here will have that durability. Being the Neutron plastic, it's not going to ding up like a DX AVR or something.
Fair. All right, I think I got a couple of flicks here. So, putters are not generally your best flick discs in general because they don't take the torque of the higher speed discs. They don't have enough overstability to really take it unless you're throwing like a zone or a slammer. So this one, I threw it with just a little bit of Annie, and it held that and then just flew all the way. Again, on Annie, it's not fighting out of it a lot, so I might question that 2 fade just because it's not fighting out of that anhyzer. It's just kind of flexing out enough to land flat. 197 on a putter flick, I'm kind of okay with that.
Yeah.
Not going much farther than that. This next throw is the way I actually wanted to throw it. So this is another place I see it getting used a lot. Again, you're probably not throwing max distance like power flicks with a putter, just for control reasons. That was a standstill, just throwing it with some hyzer, a placement shot, upshot kind of a throw. 183, that's the kind of range I would be throwing something like this on. It is stable enough that I threw a hyzer and it held that hyzer line, so you can throw it around some corners, maneuver around some obstacles. So it's got enough stability that thrown on hyzer it can handle it, but if I was really ripping on it, it's going to go straight to a little flip over like that first shot. So probably not your go-to flick disc, but it's solid.
I could have used that this weekend instead of trying to flick my P-Line P2.
Well, maybe not, because we didn't use any of your flicks because they were all bad. They look like mine, but like 115 feet.
Yeah.
All right, that's all we have for videos. So check out the particle. We have the Neutron and the Neutron Soft, and I actually have a couple of the Christmas edition left, so check those out. It's kind of a straight to stable putter. We'll hit numbers again in a minute.
Yeah.
Make sure you check out Dismember if you haven't already. This package is going to be sweet. Those plasma traces look awesome.
And they feel really nice.
Yeah. They're so pretty. I'm going to have to buy like 6 of them just to put on my wall. I don't even throw a trace, and I want like all of them. So check that out. We'll be posting more stuff. Get in the it's now called Fans of Dismember Facebook group. Go search Fan of Dismember on Facebook if you're a Dismember. Join that group. I post a lot of like preview stuff in there that you can only see in that group. So if you're a Dismember, get in there. Cool stuff happens. Check that out. All right, so let's talk about it, Steve. What do we think about the particle in general? Did you putt with it at all?
No.
I meant to do that today before we went live, but we didn't actually putt with it, so we can't tell you much about it as a putter. But what did you think about the particle just in general as a disc?
Yeah, so I really enjoyed the glide that I got out of this disc. I thought that the grip I was able to get on the disc, it was not terribly thick, it was not terribly deep, but then at the same time, if I needed it for that flick upshot, really touch, maybe hold that Annie the whole time to flat, since I have a little trouble throwing a hyzer putter. But this thing was a bomber. Like, I've bagged the AVR3 to use as a thrower because I was turning over my Prodigy PA1, and that thing would still just turn over, and then after hitting all the trees, it really turns over. And so I got the AVR3, which is more overstable than this, and I took it out of the bag because I couldn't get it far enough. Like, I really was hyzering out early, and I didn't want to throw it on Annie. And then this, it's basically allowing me to continue to have my form.
Yeah.
Not necessarily the most effective form, but
Hyzers are good, man.
usually throwing on hyzer, it lets me grip on it, pop up, and then it still will fade out. And there are quite a few courses where, at least around the Omaha area, that this is going to help me tremendously. In many situations, let alone teeing off with. This is definitely something I would start off on the tee pad with.
Yeah, it's a pretty solid throwing putter. I mean, it glided really well. I don't know if the gyro technology has anything to do with that. It's
Of course
the first
it is.
way that we've seen that. I mean, it could be. The idea with MVP is the material on the rim is denser than the material here, so that would help it spin faster. I haven't thrown enough MVP to really say it definitely does that.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you would test to see that it definitely does that. But this glided really well for a putter. I mean, throwing hyzer and hard, it just held it and went 300 feet. So that's solid for a putt and approach this. Like I said, we didn't putt with it, so I can't tell you there. Our flicks weren't great, and it doesn't really have that great of a flick grip. But you wouldn't necessarily bag it for that shot. Super clean release on backhands. Just easy to throw it with a little bit of hyzer, and it carries that line. You can put it where you want it to go. Pretty controllable that way. I don't know. We weren't having great success shaping a lot of shots with it. That power hyzer, though, it knocked it out of the park really, really well. Pretty solid approach to this. So if you need something a little more stable than your ions or your NVs or your anodes, check this guy out. All right, let's get to some of your comments. I'm losing them on my phone as we go.
I got some.
But Evan, you got some questions for us?
Yeah, first, Frank wants to know, Frank Reynolds wants to know, do we get a Polaroid in our this number?
No, you do not. That was just an example picture. Actually, we didn't get a Polaroid either. We just got an emailed picture, and Evan put it in there with some fancy effects. But no, we will not. You will not get a Polaroid. But that was just to show you guys the little preview that we got from MVP. Got us pretty excited, so we wanted to share that with you guys.
John GS, did you guys try it for putting, which kind of talked about it a bit? He tried it to putt with MVP. It feels like it glides a little too much for his comfort. Did you get that with the particle?
I wish I had that problem.
I don't know that. I've never known. I mean, unless you're airballing the basket all the time, I don't know that more glide on your putter is a bad thing. I guess it does depend on your putting style. I switched to the Streamline. That's the one. I switched to the Streamline Pilots because they have more glide. My judges just weren't gliding enough for me with my new putting style, and so I could see that. We got tons of glide out of it throwing, so I could see it having a lot of glide putting. One I did see, somebody asked a question about how we measure and how to do that. Part of your disc member subscription is you get a free UDisc Pro account. So on UDisc, there is a throws feature, and it's super, super simple. It's fairly accurate. It's based on the GPS on your phone. So on my phone, it's accurate to 13 feet at each spot, so about 24 feet, give or take, total. So it's not super accurate. I don't know if you have an iPhone or a fancier phone than mine, maybe it's better. I don't know. But basically, you throw, you hit start where you're standing, you walk to the disc, and you hit stop or mark disc, and it lets you can tell it which disc you threw. You can put all of your discs into UDisc. I use it a lot for my personal field work so that once I get back on the course, I can look at it and go, oh, I throw my Shrike 420 feet on average, or oh, I throw my Rival 350. So I can use it to kind of like, okay, this hole is this far, I should throw this disc kind of a thing.
It's your electronic caddy book.
Yeah, Because some people just like they think they can throw a disc farther than they can, or they throw a disc farther than they think they do, one or the other. It gives you a little bit better barometer. So yeah, you hit start where you threw it, mark disc when you get there, and you tell it which disc you threw, and it saves it for you. Super simple, super easy. All right, a couple other questions you got for us?
I got here. What kind of putters do you guys have in your bags?
Yeah, I got
Steve carries like 6. That's part of Steve's problem. He needs to pick a putter and stick with
exactly. My oldest putter in the bag is a 350G PA1. It's white with flag stamp. It's pretty sweet. I'm used that a lot for throwing. Over the weekend, it was very windy, so I used that to be able to fight the wind. Then I also have kind of a beat-in Prime Warden, and
it. It's super pretty.
yeah,
Super swirly.
purpley. It's pretty. That is now really straight for me. It started off with some stability. Now it's just super stable, just straight. I like that for any kind of tailwind, or I'd even use it for a small crosswind, but there's always a small crosswind in Nebraska, so it gets used a lot. But I just put in a P-Line P2. So that first round, I liked how it came out of my hand nicely. It was still able to fight the wind where I needed it. So I've gone from everything from super flippy to just this is too overstable for me to be able to keep in the bag, and now I'm kind of in that middle range of I'll let something be beat up and stay in the bag, but I don't want anything like I also have an AVR3 that I keep in my car for this specific wind, but that's a thrower. I'm not trying to put that one in the basket from 30 feet.
So I putt with Streamline Electron Soft Pilots. I picked those up. They glide super well. They're dead straight. They're really shallow, and so with the new putting grip I started using last fall, they fit my hand really well. So that they've been super clean for me. I'm liking them a lot. They are really straight and they don't have a ton of overstability. So like this weekend when it was really windy, they're flipping a little bit out of my hand. So I do still carry a couple of judges. One fusion. I carry one fusion one for throwing, and I carry one classic one for jump putting. So for farther putts where I'm jump putting and putting more force on it, the judge has a little extra stability, can handle that a little better, and therefore it can handle headwinds better too. So I putted with it mostly this weekend. But my go-tos are my Electron Soft Streamline Pilots, and then I've got a couple judges for throwing and jump putting.
We have one more question. Shane Russell wants to know what kind of shot should he be throwing to torque on a putter like the Particle, like you guys did, and what are the benefits of that? What kind of shot do you do to get that much torque on a putter, and what would be the benefits of torque on a putter real?
I mean, benefits of torque on a putter is just going to come down to what you're throwing. Like this can handle that kind of torque. So like a lot of putters, I'm not going to throw for distance because if I throw them with a lot of torque, they're going to flip over. That's why I carry zones, because I can rip on those as hard as I want. They're still going to fade. So that's not necessarily a benefit, but this putter's stable enough that you can throw it hard with that torque and it can handle it. What happens when you over torque a disc, Steve?
Well, it ends up spinning faster than it's designed to do, and you end up getting it to rotate towards the ground, basically.
Yeah.
So if I were throwing the same power as that 300-foot shot that I put on Heiser, if I threw that flat, it probably would have gone a quarter of the distance because it would have rotated so instead of here to here, here to here, brings it straight down. But that's a great way to throw a putter roller if you ever need one.
Yeah, and so like the more unstable a disc is, the less torque it can handle without flipping over. You may have heard the term turn and burn. If I say I turned and burned it, that means I threw it, it flipped over, and it burned into the ground. And so something that's more overstable can handle more torque. That's why putters and mids, we have a harder time sidearming because they can't handle as much torque as a driver. And so we have to put it on more of a hyzer angle so that it's not fighting out of it. If we put it flat, it can't handle that torque on its own, and it turns over like that one shot that I had. And we're going to do one more question here from Evan, and then I go back through and I answer a lot of your questions on Facebook. So I'll get to you guys. I'll pick some good winners for the stuff, unless Evan already did that.
You have one winner if I guessed correctly.
The guess, we have the correct guess, and then I'll give these away to people who had good comments
Okay, one
today or
question,
tomorrow.
and then we'll get to the winner.
Yeah.
The one question would be just easily for both of you guys, what stance do you use to putt? Which kind? Style?
Do you straddle, or are you what's the other actual stance called? I don't know what the name of it is. Do you use a traditional stance or do you straddle?
It depends on the shot. It depends.
Flat ground,
If it was
nothing between you and the
if it was
basket, what are you
flat-
doing? Obviously, if there's a tree in your way, you straddle.
I
but-
feel more comfortable where my hips and shoulders are facing the target and my toes are pointed at the basket with my lead foot being in front. Like it's kind of like an athletic position where my knees are bent, everything is still facing the target, and then I really just try and extend straight to the basket, pick a chain, try and hit it. But if, I also spent a while trying to do straddle, and it was successful, but it was kind of hard on the body.
Straddle putting is a good thing to have because you're always going to end up in a situation where you need it at some point. So being comfortable with the straddle putt is important because you're going to have to eventually. I kind of do almost the Nico LaCastro. Nico kind of does the half straddle like this. I don't pull my disc all the way back behind me like Nico does. But I do kind of a little bit of a half straddle, so it's not a full straddle putt, and it's not quite the traditional like you'll see like Macbeth or Eric McCabe do. I do a little bit off-centered straddle just to get a little bit better center of balance, and then power through it. I'm a little more of a spush putter than I used to be. I'm not quite a push or a spin putter, but we're a little more on the spin side nowadays. Oh, so Shane Russell just asked, what is a push putt? So there are two main styles of putting, three if you count spush, which is in spush just is the combo of spin and push putting. So Steve, what is spin putting?
Spin putting is really focusing on the rotation of the disc. So instead of a throw where you're getting that nice snap out of the hand, it's now coming forward with that same idea where you're really focusing on getting that wrist around, getting that disc to start spinning, and that's why Simon Lizotte bangs so many putts from outside the circle.
And they hit hard because they're spinning. What's the benefit for a spin putt? Like, why would you use a spin putt?
The
over
disc
other things?
inherently is going to be in the air longer because you're getting that. It's fighting the air, pushing on it by rotating. So it can be in the air longer. It can cut through the wind. It will.
And that's the big one, is the cutting through the wind. If you see guys from Kansas like Eric McCabe or guys from Texas, almost all those guys are spin putters because there's always wind and they always have to. Spin putting helps you cut through the wind. It's a lot more direct. The problem with spin putting is you are putting more energy into the disc, and so if you miss with a spin putt, you miss far. You might have the same putt coming back again because you ran a 40-foot putt with the spin putt and you went 40 foot past the basket. Push putting is what you see guys like Will Schusterk is a really common example for push putters. So that is generally going to be a lot more about loft and getting the disc high and letting it drop. And guys like Will, the disc might spin twice in a 40-foot putt to get to the basket. They're putting it out flat and just letting it drift and fall in. So that the benefit to that is you're not going to spit out as much. You're hitting the chains a lot softer. If you miss, you're dropping close to the basket. The downside is wind and ceilings can get to you a lot more. So even guys who are push putters, if they're at distance, and you can't push putt as far, you just can't.
No.
So a lot of guys, if they're at distance or if it's windy, even if they're push putters, they're spinning because they have to. So and putting comes down to comfort. If you're more comfortable spin putting, spin putt. If you're more comfortable push putting, push putt. But there's some advantages and disadvantages of each. All right, that wraps us up for this week. I'll get the winners here.
I got one winner I can give you.
Cool.
It's Frank Reynolds. Guess 300 for Steve's.
Yeah,
Frank Reynolds wins the white particle for a perfect guess on Steve's throw. All right, I'll get to the other two for good comments and good questions. We had a lot of good questions this week, so we'll be able to get some stuff away pretty easy. I don't have to search as hard. But I'll answer all your other questions later. This has been episode 40.
Yeah.
We're getting up there in numbers.
4-0.
Episode 40 of This Is Great with Steve and Nate, and we'll see you guys next week.
Thanks, y'all.